Today I will share Dharma, which represents the highest wisdom. Let's discuss how the mind awakens and realizes that everything in existence is nature. This is about the mind awakening, seeing and accepting this truth. This is the highest wisdom in Buddhism. All we need to do is listen attentively and understand. Use your common sense while listening. Don't overthink or analyze deeply. Use the natural, simple common sense that we all possess. It's like a child's mind, using their basic natural common sense. When they hear something, they understand it immediately and respond right away in their heart. Listen and respond without judging whether it's right or wrong, good or bad, or trying to find logical reasons. This teaching transcends ordinary logic. By using just our common sense and following along, we will understand that everything is Dharma, everything is nature itself. The fruit of arahantship, or the state of complete awakening, allows one to see that all things, both the knower and the known, both external and internal, are simply nature. They are Dhamma itself. Everything one perceives becomes Dhamma. The term perceive means that it is seen within. It is an internal awakening. There is a deep realization that everything is Dhamma, and Dhamma is nature. Listen to this recording of mine. This one is different from any other I have made. Today, it's not about observing the mind. It is beyond observing the mind. So today, there is no need to observe the mind. We just need to listen and understand. This is referred to as the Dhammanupassana Satipatthana, which involves awakening to and understanding the nature of reality. Simply put, it means to listen and understand using common sense. Engage with the teachings by reflecting and responding internally as you listen. This will lead to the realization that everything is part of nature. When our minds accept this understanding, we recognize that there are no distinct entities, no you and me, no material forms in this world. All emotions such as love, greed, anger, and delusion become aspects of nature. Good and bad, merit and demerit, all dissolve into this understanding. Nothing remains as separate or individual. Everything becomes unified as Dharma. If we truly grasp and accept this, we transcend the cycle of birth. Therefore, I encourage everyone to listen to this recording multiple times. For those who may not understand fully after one listening, revisiting it will help clarify these teachings. In fact, comprehending this material deeply can lead us to liberation from existence. The nature of animals, such as carnivores like lions, is to hunt and consume other animals. This is simply their natural behavior. Herbivores eat plants and must avoid predators. This too is part of their nature. Many animals dig burrows to shelter themselves from the sun and rain, to protect against enemies, and to create spaces for their families. This is a natural instinct. Animals don't need rituals or ceremonies before entering their shelters. They understand that these actions are part of their ordinary existence. The purpose of a shelter is straightforward: to protect from elements and predators, to store food, and to ensure the survival of their species. There is no need for elaborate rites or rituals in this context. On the other hand, those who feel compelled to perform rituals, like blessings or ceremonies to sanctify their homes, often struggle against nature. This resistance to understanding the natural order can lead to confusion and suffering, causing them to cycle through existence repeatedly. Now let's continue exploring the concept of nature further. Is the sun shining a natural phenomenon? Yes, it is very natural. Is rain falling a natural phenomenon? Yes, it is very ordinary. Trees are abundant on earth. Their purpose is to produce oxygen. This is natural. They provide pure air for all living beings and help prevent flooding by absorbing water and regulating its flow. This is the nature of trees. These elements are very natural. The world has created its own balance. Now humans are intelligent and tend to go against nature, thus facing the consequences of natural laws. When humans cut down trees, encroach upon land, and build houses for profit, destroying everything in their way, creating temples, large Buddha statues, public buildings and cities, they remove trees. As a result, the air begins to lose its purity. Is this truly natural? It reflects the nature of humanity. Humans act this way by nature and must bear the consequences of their actions, the karmic repercussions of going against nature. Now, when it rains, the water floods. This is very natural. When it rains and there are no trees to absorb the water, it leads to flooding. This is a very ordinary natural phenomenon. However, from the perspective of living beings, this is the karmic consequence of going against nature. When one opposes nature, they are subject to its repercussions. The distress caused by flooding, such as diseases, damages to belongings, and loss of life, is a result of humanity's disruption of nature. Are these things a natural occurrence in the world? Yes, they are part of the ordinary nature of this world. Rain falls, water floods, people die, diseases arise, and life becomes difficult. That is the nature of living beings. This is where beings who oppose nature reside, and it reflects the ordinary natural state of the world. Now, let's talk about people who go fishing. When they fish for their livelihood, this is very natural. It is the ordinary nature of living beings. When a fish sees bait on a hook, it instinctively bites. Is this natural? Yes, it is the natural behavior of a fish to bite bait. It is very ordinary. Humans catch fish and obtain food to sustain their lives. Is this natural? Yes, it is the nature of living beings. Now, when humans harm animals, the spirits and consciousness of those animals may harbor resentment and hatred, which can result in shorter lifespans or lead to diseases and misfortunes. Is all of this natural? Yes, it is part of the ordinary nature of living beings. When animals have shorter lives and die early, it reflects the natural state of existence. However, humans often reflect on this and think of it as sin or karma, attributing it to the bad deeds they have committed. They create narratives around it, believing it's due to their actions that they experience such outcomes. In reality, it is simply the ordinary nature of nature itself. When they harm others, those beings retaliate. This is a natural response. Experiencing short lifespans or illnesses is very common in the world of those who are lost in existence. Now we should think in terms of common sense. This is the ordinary nature of things, and we should think simply without overthinking. Today's teachings advise against excessive thought. Just listen and apply common sense and respond accordingly. Do animals fight each other? Is that natural? Yes, it is very natural. When dogs fight, it is part of their nature. Other animals also engage in battles. Is that natural? Absolutely. Humans are the same. When they argue, is it natural? Yes, it is a very ordinary occurrence. People fighting or arguing is part of the natural order. When a husband and wife argue, is that natural? Yes, it is very natural. Parents may argue with their children. Is that a natural occurrence? Certainly, it is very common. The love between parents and children is also natural. When parents go out to work, they may encounter conflicts with their bosses and argue. Is that natural? Yes, it is very much a part of life. If someone gets fired after an argument with their boss, is that natural? Yes, it is very natural. When they lose their job and have to stay at home for a while without income, is that also natural? Yes, it is. These are all aspects of the nature of the world. After being unemployed for a while, they might find a new job and encounter good co-workers. Is that natural? Yes, it is. We use common sense to listen and respond simply. It really is just that straightforward. Understand that there is nothing that is not natural. Just share the stories and we'll grasp it together. Accept that everything is part of nature. When you start working, you fulfill your duties and you receive your salary. Is it natural to feel happy when you get paid? Yes, it is very natural. It turns out that many men, and sometimes women, celebrate when they receive their salary by going out with friends and drinking. Is this the natural behavior of beings? Yes, it is very ordinary. Then, once they get drunk, arguments can arise. They might talk in ways that lead to misunderstandings, and fights can break out in the drinking circle. Is this natural? Yes, it is very natural. Sometimes they gather together, have fun, and then return home. But while driving back, if they are drunk, accidents can happen, leading to fatal incidents. Are these things natural? Yes, they are very much a part of nature. Are accidents a natural occurrence? Yes, it is a very ordinary aspect of life that must happen. Now, when living at home with the family, cooking and preparing meals together, it's natural for spouses to be together, to have children, and to live with parents. Sharing meals and enjoying each other's company is part of nature, right? It's a natural behavior of beings. However, sometimes when living together, arguments can arise. Is that natural? Yes, very much so. One day, we might witness a neighbor fighting. A man might hit a woman hard, causing her to faint. When we see this, is it natural? Yes, it is a very natural occurrence. We see people fighting. The woman collapses. After a while, the police arrive at that house, the man gets arrested, and the woman is taken to the hospital. Perhaps someone reported it, maybe a family member. Are these things natural? Yes, they are quite ordinary in the world. When a baby is born, it cries and wants to drink milk. Is this natural? Yes, it's very natural. There was a family that was well off, and they had their first child. They cared for the baby very well. When it was time to give birth, they had a cesarean section. Is giving birth through surgery a natural occurrence? It's very natural. Some people have cesarean sections while others do not. That's natural too. However, it turned out that the baby died just one day after being born. Is death a natural occurrence? Yes, it is very natural. Some babies die right in the womb. Is that natural? Yes, it is. Some are born and live for a month or two before they die. That is also natural. Death can happen at any time. It's always a possibility. When the parents saw that their baby had died just a day after birth, they were very sad and cried a lot. They were heartbroken and couldn't eat. Is this reaction ordinary? Yes, it is very natural. It's a natural response. This has nothing to do with anything else. Don't overthink it. Today, as you listen to this teaching, it's important to not use your intellect too much. This recording is special for those who want to attain enlightenment. You must not think too much. The release from the cycle of birth and death, known as Vimutti, is above all elaboration. Do not overthink. Just use common sense to listen and understand that everything is natural. If you think too much, you will remain caught in the cycle of birth and death, and you won't reach enlightenment. Just listen and accept that death is very natural. After the baby died, the parents were very sad. This sadness is also very natural. They had nurtured the child until they finally held it, and now it had died right before their eyes. They were devastated. This is also very natural. Later, after the baby's death, they took it to perform rituals. These rituals are a natural part of life. They conducted various ceremonies, praying for a few days, and then they cremated the baby. After cremation, it turned into ashes. During this time, the parents continued to mourn and cry every day. Is this natural? Yes, it is very natural. Once the cremation was completed, they moved forward. We must not overthink. We should use common sense to listen and accept everything as natural. When people buy pork, someone has to kill the pig to sell it. Is this natural? Yes, it is. Listen further. We can say that everything is natural. This is how the world works. We don't need to think too much. Just use common sense and acknowledge that it's all part of nature. We have lived our lives this way. When people buy pork, the seller kills the pig and sells all parts of it. Before the pig is killed, it cries out. This is a natural part of their role. We buy the pork to eat. This couple doesn't like vegetables. They prefer meat, so they prepare the pork. Once they have the pork, they stew it and find it delicious, very tender and tasty. They discuss how great the recipe is, saying it's perfect for the show. Is this natural? Yes, it's very natural to enjoy eating stewed pork and talk about how good it is. However, after they finish eating, they start to feel unwell and go to the doctor. It turns out they both have cancer. The doctor informs them that cancer can grow due to the consumption of meat. Animal-based foods are linked to cancer. They realize they need to undergo radiation treatment, which costs about 2 million baht for chemotherapy as the cancer is advanced. Hearing this, they feel discouraged. Is having cancer natural? Yes, it is a very natural occurrence for people who consume meat. This is the karmic consequence, the result of going against nature. By eating meat, they face the consequences. This is part of the natural order. Karma is simply the result of breaking the natural laws, leading to punishment by nature. This is the ordinary nature of living beings. They cannot be stopped. No matter how much you explain, they will continue their ways, just like with alcohol. It has no benefits. Can you stop them? No, they will keep consuming as usual. At the end of the month, restaurants are full, and they drink and smoke as before. In the end, they become ill. Is this natural? Yes, it is very natural. The body functions in response to what is ingested. When harmful substances enter the body, it deteriorates quickly. This is very natural. Consuming too much meat ultimately leads to various diseases, everything from hypertension and cholesterol to cancer. It's certain. Don't worry. Everything will fall apart. When families have a lot of money, but then they get cancer, that's when all the money they made goes to the doctors. Doctors get very rich. No matter how many hospitals are built, they all become wealthy. We earn money only to pay doctors and nurses. Is this natural? Yes, it's very natural. Is it natural for big fish to eat small fish? Yes, it is very natural. Those with intelligence can exploit those without it more easily. This is the nature of the world. Is it natural for the rich to oppress the poor? Yes, it is natural because they have the means to do so. And the poor are often taken advantage of because they lack the resources and knowledge. What's the purpose of education? Why go through all that to end up as someone else's employee? Starting a business to find employees? No, instead, we study hard and spend millions just to become someone else's subordinate. Is this natural? Entering the labor market is a natural part of this world. Do we understand? All of this is nature. It's the mechanism of nature. Big fish eat small fish. It's very natural. The intelligent will always surpass the less intelligent. This is a fundamental aspect of our world. We should see these things as natural and not judge them as good or bad, moral or immoral. It's a different issue. Don't create a narrative around it. Don't use reason. Rely on common sense. Listen, understand, and accept that this is nature. This is the habitat of beings who are still lost in nature. Once we accept nature, we will not be reborn. Let's continue listening. It turns out that he has cancer. Having cancer is very natural. The doctor said that he has severe cancer and needs radiation and chemotherapy, along with numerous other problems. His hair starts to fall out, and the money he had accumulated begins to dwindle. From being wealthy, he starts to run out of money. He can no longer work, and with no income, he struggles to pay for treatments. The costs keep piling up, and his liver and kidneys start to fail. Everything begins to deteriorate. Is this very natural? Yes, it's very natural. Our physical bodies, are they natural? Yes, they are. Is being sick natural? Yes, it is. Is aging and deteriorating natural? Yes, it is. Is death natural? Yes, it is. This family is the same. After undergoing radiation, their savings run out and they start accumulating debt. Their bodies can only hold on to life day by day. With debt comes stress. Does having debt lead to suffering? Yes, it causes a lot of stress and suffering. Is this natural? It's the nature of humans. They feel stressed and suffer, and that's the nature of being human. We can see that all of this is nature. Then both of them passed away. Is death a natural occurrence? Yes, it is very natural. It can happen at any time. It is natural that we must die. Now, the parents of these two are still alive, seeing their children die before them. Do the parents feel sorrow? Is it natural for parents to feel sad? Yes, these are very natural emotions. Now, there's a family who are villagers. They go to the forest to gather food because they are poor. They work odd jobs, cutting grass, and sometimes they go into the woods to collect vegetables and mushrooms to eat. Is this natural for poor people? Yes, they live as poor people do. Then there's a wealthy family. This wealthy family spends thousands or tens of thousands on food for each meal. They never cook for themselves. They buy expensive food and enjoy all the good expensive meals. Is this natural? Yes, it is natural. This family is very happy. However, it turns out that their daughter committed suicide. Is suicide a natural occurrence? Yes, it is part of the nature of this world. The parents later learned that their daughter took her life because her boyfriend left her. As a teenager, when the boyfriend left, she felt heartbroken and decided to end her life. Is this natural? Yes, it is very natural. There was a family with a child who was growing up and running around. One day, while playing in front of the house, the child was bitten by a dog and nearly died, receiving 40 stitches. No one saw the dog bite the child until it was too late. Is this a natural occurrence? Yes, it is natural. When someone finally saw that the dog had bitten the child, this person was so angry that they killed the dog by poisoning it. Is this reaction natural? Yes, having feelings of anger and revenge towards the dog is part of the nature of this world. When the dog's owner found out later that their dog had died, they were also furious. Even though they didn't know who had killed the dog, they were extremely upset that it was dead. Is this anger natural? Yes, it is very natural in this world. Feelings of anger are part of nature. Now, there is a poor family that, as mentioned, forages for food in the forest. They live in harmony with nature, finding mushrooms like head cob and termite mushrooms. They are overjoyed, as if they had won the lottery. They are so happy to find these mushrooms and fill their basket to the brim. Is this joy natural? Yes, it is very natural. Gathering mushrooms is a natural activity. Experiencing emotions is also natural. They are so happy as they walk back, smiling all the way and chatting with each other. Is this happiness natural? Absolutely. They then go home to cook the mushroom soup. While cooking, the aroma fills the air. Is this natural? Yes, it is. The smell hits their noses and they comment on how fragrant it is. When they taste the soup, they experience flavors. Is this natural? Very much so. They add fish sauce and try it again, and it brings smiles to their faces. Is this reaction natural? Yes. They call it delicious. The first taste might not be great. Is it natural to feel that way? Yes, it's a natural reaction. Once they enjoy it, their cravings intensify. The deliciousness of the soup is natural. As they savor it, saliva flows and they become hungry. Everything is ready and they call for their partner saying, "Come on, dinner is ready." They serve the soup into bowls and add vegetables, putting rice on the table for each of them. They start eating the hot soup. When they scoop it up, their partner eagerly takes a big slurp, only to find it hot. Is it natural to say it's hot? Yes, it's a natural reaction. After taking a big slurp, he exclaimed, "Oh, it's hot, but so delicious." When the woman heard her husband say it was delicious, she smiled. This is all a natural reaction. They enjoyed the meal together, talking about how good it was. "Oh, it's great. Let's go pick mushrooms there again next time." They chatted about going mushroom hunting again. These are all very natural things. They were very happy as a family, eating mushroom soup and enjoying nature. After finishing their meal, they washed the dishes. Is washing dishes natural? Yes, it is very natural. They had some leftover mushrooms, so they decided to share them with relatives. Everyone smiled and was happy. They exchanged fruits as well, sharing and enjoying each other's company. Living comfortably and happily, this is natural. This is nature. Then the husband said, "How about we buy a new motorcycle? We still have enough money." They decided to buy a motorcycle. The motorcycle has its purpose to take them places and needs to be filled with gas. Is this natural? Very natural indeed. However, once they got the motorcycle, the husband wouldn't drive it. He insisted it needed to be blessed first, saying, "If we don't bless it, it won't run." This became an unnatural situation. A vehicle is meant to be driven. You fill it with gas, start it, and off you go. It doesn't require any special rituals. But humans often misunderstand nature and create unnecessary customs. After using the motorcycle for a while, they said, "Let's do a house blessing." The purpose of a house is to protect from sun and rain, right? This is very natural. A house is a living space for both animals and humans, providing shelter from the elements and safety from theft, serving as a place to keep belongings and build a family. This is the natural function of a house. However, once humans build a house, they often feel they can't move in without a blessing ceremony. They feel the need for rituals or blessings, which is a human-created complication, a cycle of superstition that leads to confusion and attachment. Humans often resist understanding nature and instead create complex customs to deceive themselves, not anyone else. This reflects a fundamental misunderstanding of nature. Now, the nature of humans is to walk, right? It's natural for humans to walk around, to go here and there, to go to work, to find food in the forest, to gather vegetables and food to eat. This is the nature of humans. They work, dig the soil, and plant trees. This is human nature. They are constantly exercising because they are doing various activities, planting crops, growing vegetables, and harvesting rice. This is the nature of humans, to cultivate and raise animals for food. Once they have food and shelter, they can rest in their homes. This is very natural. By finding food daily, their bodies are constantly moving, so exercise is inherent. On the other hand, people in the city often sit idle all day, doing nothing but sitting and breathing. They hardly move at all. Then they eat, sleep, and just sit around. This is what rich people do. They have just this. As a result, their bodies become weak because they don't move around. They hardly walk at all each day, spending most of their time sitting, sometimes in a car, sometimes at home. There's hardly any movement at all, and exercise is almost non-existent. Their health deteriorates, leading to various diseases. These are wealthy people who have money to spend on their health care, earning money only to pay for their medical bills. When they become obese, what do? They try to exercise, but that costs money. This is the nature of humans and the world of living beings. Do we understand? This is nature. They might do aerobics alone, stretch, do yoga, and watch TV while exercising along with it. Sometimes they even have to pay for courses or fitness classes where they might need to skip certain foods. All this is to get back in shape and improve their physique. But for the common people, they don't have to spend money on these things because they are constantly exercising through their daily work. They don't need to go to a gym or do any specific exercise. Their everyday tasks serve as their workout. This is very natural. Rich people have their own nature and poor people have theirs. Do both rich and poor find happiness? Yes, they find happiness in their own ways, right? This is nature. Poor people may experience suffering, and rich people also have their own form of suffering. This is nature, right? It's the nature of our emotions. Happiness and suffering are natural, existing in the forms of both rich and poor. They are essentially the same. It's very natural. Happiness and suffering have always been part of life. Even 2,000 years ago, it was like this. Today it is still the same, and it has been this way for millions of years. In any realm of existence, there are emotions of happiness, suffering, and indifference. These are very natural. Humans have the ability to remember and forget. This is also part of nature. Has it been this way for 2,000 years? Yes, it has. As children, we experience this, and we still experience it today. This has been true for countless lifetimes. Even 2,000 years ago and 1,000 years ago, there was forgetting, getting lost, and being distracted. This is natural. It thinks about this and that, sometimes in a positive way and sometimes in a negative way. It thinks about its usual concerns, how things were 2,000 years ago, how they were 1,000 years ago, how they were in childhood, and how they are today. It's all the same. It thinks about this and that, its familiar thoughts, and it tends to dwell on what it enjoys thinking about. Sometimes it likes to think about music or sing its favorite songs. Are these things natural? They are very natural. There is a family composed entirely of women. A single mother is raising her 2 daughters, who are also girls. When they are together, the kids gossip about their friends at school, sharing stories about who did what. They talk about their arguments and good moments, saying things like, "This person is like that," or "That person is like this." This kind of gossip is natural, right? It's a natural part of us to think this way. Women often gossip when they go to work, chatting with friends about this person or that one. Men do the same when they gather. They talk about various people and events. Is this natural? It's the nature of living beings to think, to express those thoughts out loud. Right now, as I'm speaking, it's also natural. The act of thinking and speaking is part of nature. I'm speaking and thinking at the same time. Is hearing this sound natural? Hearing is very natural. Is tasting different foods natural? It's very natural. Experiencing hot and cold, feeling tension or movement, are these natural? They are very natural. Seeing this and that, are these natural? Absolutely. Our mind is naturally aware. It is always knowing. It constantly feels through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. It's aware all the time. Right now we are aware of sound. This is natural, isn't it? We use common sense to listen and respond. To know is natural, and to create thoughts and images is also natural. Emotions arise, sometimes positively, sometimes negatively. Is this natural? It has been like this for 2,000 years in past lives, when we were children, and even today. Thinking positively, thinking negatively, pondering this and that, is this natural? It is indeed natural. We think about various things, both positive and negative, and about everyday matters. Is this natural? Very natural. We cannot stop it. It's part of our nature to think. Now emotions arise, and having emotions is also a natural process. There are positive emotions and negative emotions, which can be described as desires or lack thereof. Sometimes we just have neutral feelings. Are these natural? They have existed for 2,000 years and have always been part of human experience, regardless of the era. It was the same 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, during our childhood, and today. It doesn't matter if someone is a girl, a boy, old or disabled. Everyone experiences this. It's not about the body, it's a matter of the mind. This is the natural way of how we process things. When we encounter someone fishing and we think to ourselves, what are they catching? Is this kind of thinking natural? It is indeed natural. Now, if we walk or drive and come across a beautiful house that's having some celebration with loud music playing, we might hear the music and think, hey, I haven't heard this song in a long time, it's great. We might even start humming along because we enjoy it and haven't heard it in a while. Is this natural? Very natural. Hearing the music and humming along is a natural response. Another person, upon hearing the music, complained, what kind of stupid song is this? It sounds so ancient and I can't understand it at all. Is this kind of reaction natural? Absolutely. Then, while walking or biking, we might see a shop selling beautiful shiny oranges. We feel a strong desire to eat an orange. Is wanting to eat an orange natural? Very natural. So we stop and ask the seller for a kilo. The seller even offers a sample, saying, try this. Once we taste it, we think, wow, this is delicious. Why is this orange so good? We might wonder what brand it is. This is all part of our natural experience, and if we love the taste, we tell the seller, I'll take 2 kilos. And when the seller says these oranges come from China and they're really good, we agree and pay. Is paying for goods natural? Definitely. It's a very natural part of life. As we drive along, we come across a shop selling sticky rice with grilled pork. The pork is shaped in a unique square block, something we've never seen before. Upon catching a whiff, we think, wow, what's this? It smells amazing. Where did this recipe come from? Just riding past, the aroma is irresistible. Is this experience of encountering the delicious smell natural? Absolutely. Feeling drawn to buy some, we get sticky rice and grilled pork for 30 baht. We enjoy it while biking, savoring each bite and feeling relaxed and happy. Is this a natural feeling? Definitely. We continue our ride, feeling content and enjoying the moment as we head towards a soap shop or convenience store. So we stop in front of the store to buy soap and toothpaste. After completing the purchase, we reach for our wallet, only to find there's no money left. We are shocked. Is this feeling of shock natural? Absolutely. Usually, when we buy something, we have cash on hand. But this time, when we check our wallet and see it empty, the surprise hits us. This shock is indeed a natural response. Everything we experience is part of our natural state. When we feel shocked and realize our wallet is missing, we instinctively leave our things behind to search for it. Running back to retrace our steps is a natural response. When we can't find the wallet, the level of shock increases, especially since important items like credit cards are inside. This feeling of panic is entirely natural. Once we arrive home, calling to block the cards is also a natural action. It's a human instinct to protect ourselves from potential loss. All these actions reflect our inherent nature. They are simply part of how we navigate life. In a family whose livelihood revolves around selling and processing chicken, the act of killing and preparing the chickens for sale is a natural part of their existence. This process reflects the cycle of life and death in nature, and for them it's a means of survival. When customers come to buy grilled chicken, enjoying it with sticky rice and papaya salad is also a natural part of their culture. Eating together and sharing meals is a fundamental human experience. However, the conversation between two practitioners of Dhamma, reflecting on the morality of killing animals, introduces a deeper contemplation about life and ethics. They discuss the implications of killing, considering it a sin that may shorten their own lives. This introspection is part of the human experience, particularly for those engaged in spiritual practice. Such discussions about karma and morality are common in Thailand among those who practice Dharma. It's a natural dialogue reflecting their values and beliefs, showing the intersection of daily life and spiritual reflection. This balance between survival, culture, and ethics is an intrinsic aspect of human nature. In different cultures, the relationship with food and ethics varies significantly. For example, in many Western cultures, eating chicken may not involve reflections on morality or the cycle of life. People often focus on the enjoyment of the meal and quickly return to their daily responsibilities. This practical approach contrasts with Thai culture, where discussions about karma and the implications of killing animals are more common, especially among those who practice spiritual beliefs. The consequences of dietary choices, such as the link between meat consumption and health issues like cancer, highlight the natural cycle of life and death. Communities that emphasize vegetarianism, focusing on a plant-based diet, often report better health outcomes and lower incidences of diseases like cancer and hypertension. This approach represents a different form of living in harmony with nature, prioritizing health through natural foods. Such communities, while sometimes considered a minority, embody a lifestyle that values simplicity and wellness. They pass down practices of growing and consuming vegetables, leading to a harmonious existence with their environment. This illustrates the diversity of human experiences and beliefs regarding food, health, and ethics across different cultures. In communities where people struggle to earn money, this struggle is part of life. Conflict and quarrels are natural. When we go to work, these interactions are common. Some people have many friends and also have a few who dislike them. Where there are people who love, there will naturally be those who dislike, and this is a normal part of life. In urban society, this struggle is evident. People work hard to earn money. If money is insufficient, they face hardship. When income is low, stress increases. Some individuals, especially those in accounting, experience a lot of stress at work and bring that stress home with them. This is a natural aspect of life, particularly for those in demanding jobs that require a lot of mental effort. Some people go to work as executives and are very busy, but they don't feel stressed at all. They enjoy their work immensely. These individuals are quite special. No matter how hectic the work gets, they find joy in it. This enjoyment of work is a natural trait for some people. Conversely, others may not find it enjoyable and feel stressed when faced with a lot of tasks. All of this reflects the nature of emotions. It includes joy, stress, satisfaction, and dissatisfaction. Some people understand this and see everything as natural. When they go to work, having people who love them is natural, as is having those who dislike them. Feeling stressed at work is also a natural experience. Because they recognize this as part of nature, they feel at ease. Their minds are clear and light. When they finish work, they feel relaxed because they view everything as natural. Love is natural. Dislike is natural. Gossiping is natural. And being busy at work is natural. When they see everything as simply part of nature, they feel at peace. Upon returning home, they cook, watch their favorite shows, and enjoy delicious meals. Is this natural? Yes. This is the nature of those who see everything as part of the natural order. If we understand and accept that all of this is simply ordinary nature, then it is indeed very natural. Walking is a very natural act, isn't it? It's completely natural. However, when practitioners of meditation train themselves to walk in specific ways, they often refer to it as walking meditation or samatha practice. They focus on cultivating awareness while walking. We attribute value to these practices, training to walk whether slowly or quickly. When practitioners are in a meditation setting, they practice walking mindfully, taking slow, deliberate steps, lifting their feet gently, placing them carefully, and being aware of each movement. This training aims to help them recognize that everything is natural. Ultimately, it reinforces the understanding that all of it is natural. Practicing Dhamma to see that all things are natural. But practitioners go to train to see that it is natural. Walking is already its own nature. But we practice walking slowly to see that it is natural. It is already its own nature. Now, listen. We just use common sense. No need to use reasoning. Don't use reasoning. Just listen and understand with common sense. That's it. No need for any principles, and do not use any reasoning at all. Dhamma is above reason and logic, above happiness and suffering, above merit and demerit, above wholesome and unwholesome, above all conditioning. This is Dhamma. This is liberation. To see that everything is natural is the goal of Buddhism. The Buddha teaches us that the 5 aggregates are natural. He also teaches that the 5 aggregates are anatta, not self. The conditioned states are anatta. I emphasize the term nature because anatta reflects the inherent nature of things. No one owns them. They are simply natural. If we understand that everything is natural, it ultimately leads us to the realization of anatta. Anatta can be translated in many ways. In worldly terms, it means no self or no identity. However, it's difficult for us to understand, and explaining it to humans can be very challenging. Saying no self or no identity can be exhausting. Therefore, I prefer to translate it as everything is simply what is known. This is one way to conclude. It can also mean everything is natural and belongs to no one. Alternatively, it could mean everything is just a phenomenon. Or it can be interpreted as everything is empty. All these translations convey different aspects of the concept. Everything can be interpreted from many angles, depending on the teaching technique. Today, I want to guide you to understand that all things, including the 5 aggregates, are natural. If we understand that everything is natural, both the knower and the known, as well as all phenomena, then we can accept that all of it is simply nature. When we truly grasp and accept this, the sense of self dissolves. There is no human, no animal, no individual identity, no I or mine. There is no world, no universe, and ultimately nothing remains. Everything is just nature. It will be as it is, empty and clear. There's nothing at all. This is the essence of practice. This practice allows us to see that all things are natural. If the mind can accept this, then it doesn't arise, because there is no person, no us at all. When the sense of self is extinguished, the mind is pure as it originally is. It becomes light, spacious, empty, and clean, truly wondrous. We can say that the mind smiles, is joyful, miraculous, light, and indescribable. It doesn't arise, and we will understand why it feels so spacious and comfortable. It's as if nothing at all is happening in this world. Everything has vanished, leaving only emptiness. This is a mind that doesn't arise, one that no longer clings to anything, no longer attaches importance to anything. It transcends all reasoning and all conditioning, because it has fully understood and accepted that everything is simply nature. This is why we practice Dhamma, to see that everything is nature. It ultimately concludes here. In reality, everything is already natural. We just need to accept that all things and phenomena are natural. We are all surrounded by nature all the time, yet we often refuse to accept it. This is simply ignorance, which we call Avijja, ignorance. Avijja does not truly exist. I refer to it as the foolishness of the mind. Now, when we study and practice Dharma, we practice walking slowly to see that it is natural, even though it is already natural. Walking is inherently natural. We walk naturally and are always aware while walking. Are we aware while we walk? We are constantly aware. When we start to feel that awareness, that is nature. It is the natural state of being aware at all times. The mind is naturally aware. It knows continuously through the body, through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. It knows emotions and thoughts as well. This awareness is always present. This is very natural. It is how it is. There is no need to do anything. We just need to understand that this is the functioning of the nature of the mind. Now, our breath, as humans must inhale and exhale, right? Is this natural? Breathing in and out is natural. It doesn't need to be forced or sought after. It happens naturally. It has been breathing this way for 2,000 years ago, and even as a child. Today, it continues to breathe in the same way. It is natural because it is still functioning. It stops only when it dies. It performs its role, and it is pure. This is the nature of its function, which is a very pure natural state. Breathing is natural. We just need to understand that it is natural. There's no need to do anything else. That's it. Now practitioners come to observe their breath. There are many ways to practice Dharma. Some people focus on their breath to train themselves, ultimately to understand that everything is natural. The breath is already natural. There's no need to train or force it. It breathes in this way as a part of its nature. We just need to be aware that it is breathing. That's it. It is still alive. It remains natural. Do we understand? There's no need to concentrate or fixate on it. It is simply natural. When practitioners want to attain enlightenment, they often start to focus intently on their breath. However, this can lead to discomfort and a feeling of tightness in the chest. This happens because they are trying to control nature, to force it, which is not the way. We shouldn't fixate or stare. We must avoid trying to control anything. Instead, we should listen and understand that everything is natural. If we can truly understand and accept that everything is nature, then that's it. It's as simple as that. Now, is swallowing saliva natural for us? It is very natural. What about coughing? That too is completely natural. Is having a runny nose natural? Absolutely. It's a normal response, like when we catch a cold or eat something spicy. However, when practitioners come to practice, they might start to focus intensely on these bodily functions. They think they should not get angry or try to keep their minds completely still and free of thoughts. They may attempt to control themselves, forcing their bodies to remain still and quiet. Is thinking natural? We understand that thoughts are indeed natural, yet we often try to practice not thinking at all. What do we mean by natural? When we practice to stop our thoughts, we are trying to realize that they are natural, even though they already are. Emotions, too, are natural. Positive emotions like joy are natural, and negative emotions like anger are also natural. Have these emotions existed for 2,000 years? Yes, they are part of our reality and have always been. We have emotions on both sides, positive and negative. We have thoughts and feelings that arise naturally. However, when practitioners sit down, they often try to fixate on their thoughts, attempting to stop them. This can lead to the emergence of new thoughts, even though thinking itself is a natural process and inherently pure. Instead of allowing thoughts to flow naturally, some may create specific phrases or focus on new thoughts, fixating on them to illustrate that thoughts are in fact natural. We focus on emotions, but why? Do we understand that emotions, whether positive, negative, or neutral, are all natural? Is anger natural? Yes, it is. Is laughter natural? Is joy natural? Are happiness and suffering natural? Is irritation natural? Is restlessness natural? Are irritation and agitation natural? Yes. Do we understand that all of this is simply part of nature? The practice of Dharma is to see that everything is nature. There is no us, and no one owns anything. There is nothing at all. There are no emotions like anger, joy, or sadness. There are no positive or negative feelings. There are only nature. Do we understand? No one thinks this or that. No one thinks good or bad, chaotic or peaceful. No one owns thoughts. There is no such thing as thoughts. There is only nature. This is one aspect of nature that is functioning. Do we understand? People who practice Dharma often focus on things and, in the end, cannot attain realization. Why? Because of ignorance and lack of wisdom, because they do not understand nature and prefer to distort it. Ultimately, they suffer the consequences of resisting nature, leading to the cycle of birth and death according to the laws of nature. No matter how you practice, you will never attain enlightenment. Why? Because you don't understand nature. To attain enlightenment means to realize the nature of reality. Being enlightened in the Dharma means being aware of this nature, seeing that everything is natural. If you understand this, then you won't be reborn. Now, some people try to focus and make their minds empty, preventing thoughts from arising and trying to have nothing at all, just to keep the mind empty. Do you know what happens to those who do this? Their minds become dull. They become depressed and unresponsive. In such a state, they won't notice anything. If someone says something, they remain indifferent. If someone has any emotional disturbances, they remain unmoved. They won't engage with anyone, and if someone tries to joke with them, they won't react. It becomes dull, boring, and tiresome. It does not bring joy. This describes those who like to focus their minds, trying to stop their thoughts and not give value to anything. They believe they should not attach value to anything to avoid mental formations. Do we understand that thoughts are natural? Do we understand that mental formations are natural? Do we understand that emotions are natural? I've been explaining for a long time that they have always been natural. Yet when it comes to this topic, some try to practice in a way that denies this nature, to eventually realize that it is natural. It is already natural. There's no need to practice to make it natural, because it is natural. We just need to accept this truth, understand it, and recognize that everything is natural. That's it. The Arahant does not focus, stare, or take anything from nature at all. They have no tasks left to do. They have completed all activities. Why? Because there is only nature. The external is nature, and the internal is nature. The knower is nature. The mental formations, thoughts, emotions are also nature. The conditioned mind is nature, and the knowing mind is nature. This is called the knowing nature and the mental formations. The knowing nature is natural, and the mental formations are also natural. So why try to focus to make it unnatural? To practice to see that it is natural. We simply need to understand and accept that it is natural. The Buddha taught the Dharma in this way to the lay people. Whoever understood it immediately attained arahantship. In the time of the Buddha, they didn't need to go through the stages of stream entry, sotapanna, once returning, sakadagam, or non-returning, anagam, at all. Whoever understands what the Buddha says immediately attains arahantship. That's it. There's no need to go through stages or training. The progression through the stages of stream entry, sotapanna, once returning, sakadagam, and non-returning, anagam, is simply a way to develop understanding, gradually ascending. This is a training that orders the understanding, starting from the coarse to the subtle. The essence of Dharma practice in studying Buddhism is that we must simply understand that everything is nature. There is no self, there is only nature. The body is nature, right? It is nature that must age, suffer, and die, right? That is nature. Our mind is also nature, right? It is the nature that knows and the nature that fabricates. The nature that fabricates gives rise to thoughts and emotions. This is nature. It is indeed nature, right? A couple has been together for 5 years. The husband thought to invite his wife on a trip abroad because they had saved enough money. He thought to himself, let's take my wife to France. This kind of thought, is it natural? It is very much a part of human nature. An arahant also thinks. The thoughts of an arahant are part of the natural state of an arahant. An arahant thinks, reflects, and has emotions as part of the 5 aggregates. It is natural that there must be thinking, reflection, and emotions. These functions operate perfectly. An arahant no longer has doubts about the 5 aggregates. They accept the nature of the 5 aggregates, understanding that everything is simply nature. No one owns nature. They do nothing but allow nature to do its work because they know that everything is nature. They cannot control nature. They do not resist it or harm it. They live in harmony with nature and understand it. The mind is the nature that knows, and the mental formations are the nature that fabricates. This body is also nature, and everything external is nature. Ultimately, everything is one and the same. It is all nature. There is no division into anything at all. If we simply accept and understand that everything is nature, we will not be reborn. An arahant understands just this, that everything is nature. Therefore, they do not experience happiness or suffering in the same way. Happiness and suffering are merely the nature that fabricates. There must be happiness and suffering, but they do not cling to it, bear it, attach importance to it, or fixate on it. They do nothing because they see it all as nature. Ultimately, everything is one and the same. It is all nature. There is no division into anything at all. If we simply accept and understand that everything is nature, we will not be reborn. An arahant understands just this, that everything is nature. Therefore, they do not experience happiness or suffering in the same way. Happiness and suffering are merely the nature that fabricates. There must be happiness and suffering, but they do not cling to it, bear it, attach importance to it, or fixate on it. They do nothing because they see it all as nature. We simply need to understand that everything is nature. There would be no one born into this world at all. There is no self. There would be no animals, no individuals, no we or they. This is what we call anatta, non-self. There would be nothing left. Everything would be empty. Everything would become nature. This is letting go, where the mind does not arise anymore because there is no place for it to arise. Everything is nature. There is no attachment, and therefore it does not arise. This is what we call Avijja, ignorance, that has been completely cut off. Why is it cut off? It is severed by wisdom. When we listen and understand, our mind accepts it. Once our mind understands and accepts that everything is nature, Avijja is completely eradicated. Ignorance is a state of being uninformed. When one understands, doubt disappears. This is wisdom. Can we simply accept that everything is nature? If we can, then we experience ease and liberation. It becomes light and spacious. Practitioners who still focus and fixate on the mind. What is the purpose of this focus? It's to recognize that it is already nature. The knower is nature. Thoughts, emotions, and everything known are part of nature. All external phenomena, as well as the knower and the known, are nature. Understanding that everything is nature, this is the essence. That's it. We all have this nature within us, but we are still ignorant and cling to our feelings. For example, why does our mind get angry? Anger is natural, right? We've heard this many times. When someone is at work and gets into an argument, feeling angry is part of nature. Now, consider a husband who tells his wife he wants to take her to France for a vacation after 5 years together. When she hears this, she immediately questions where the money will come from. The husband responds that he has saved up a bit. However, the wife, frustrated about spending money they've worked hard to save, gets angry and starts complaining, worried about future expenses if something goes wrong. Her reaction is natural, and so is the husband's desire to travel. Do we understand that these situations are all part of nature? We must not fabricate or create any narrative other than recognizing them as natural. If we do, we fall into the cycle of ignorance and suffering immediately. We will be affected by nature, which is described as being dragged by karmic consequences into the cycle of birth and death. This nature ensnares ignorant beings, binding them in the cage of existence, causing them to endlessly revolve through samsara. This cycle of birth and rebirth continues without end. Rebirth continues within the cage of nature, endlessly. We must aspire and vow to ourselves that we will not seek to be reborn again. By making this vow, we fill ourselves with determination and confidence that we will not wish to be reborn. In this lifetime, we will make it our final birth. We have been foolish to take birth in this vessel, but we are incredibly fortunate to have a human form. If we were born into a non-human vessel, it would be a serious matter. We would have to endure countless cycles of birth and death. However, we are extremely lucky to have been born as humans, and even more fortunate to encounter Buddhism, the teachings that embody the pinnacle of wisdom. We must see that everything is nature. Once we perceive that everything is nature, this mind does not arise at all. How can it arise when the sense of self has become nature? There is no us left, only nature exists. This body is also nature, it is not us. This mind is nature as well, it is not us. In summary, everything is nature. The knower is nature, and the fabricator is nature. Thoughts and emotions are nature. Practitioners who are ignorant try to train themselves not to be angry or to avoid emotions. This reflects their ignorance of what the Buddha truly taught. We simply need to recognize that the 5 aggregates are nature. There is no us and no possessions of us at all. The Buddha often spoke of the 5 aggregates as not being us or ours. Everything is nature. We just need to understand that only nature exists. When we grasp this, we won't suffer from anything. We will feel very comfortable and joyful, living life easily because it is nature. Our way of living is very natural. When we work, there are bound to be conflicts as we strive to earn money. There will be emotions, likes and dislikes, satisfaction and dissatisfaction, anger, joy, sadness, and irritation. These are all very natural. Conflicts arise as we struggle to achieve our goals. Is this nature? Yes. It involves emotions and discussions, arguments, which are thoughts and fabrications, language used in convention. This is nature doing its work. When work ends and we return home, we may think about where to go on the next holiday. Is thinking about going on a trip natural? Yes, it is the ordinary nature of the world and the aggregates that fulfill the function of thinking. Whether we think positively, negatively, or neutrally, all of it is nature. Don't see it as anything more. Simply recognize that it is nature. Understand that all of this is nature. Don't interpret it as something significant, like thinking we shouldn't have positive thoughts. Thoughts are nature. We must understand that they are nature. There is no owner of thoughts. There is only nature thinking. Emotions can be positive or negative. This is their natural function. No one owns these emotions or experiences them as possessions. If we cling to the idea that we must control, fixate, or suppress these natural states, we should be prepared to face the laws of nature. We will find ourselves trapped in this world of nature, unable to escape, because we perceive things as having a self or reality. In truth, nothing is genuinely real. Everything is simply nature. We simply need to understand and accept that everything is nature. When we do this, the mind will settle. It will see that there is nothing at all, that there is no self. This body is also nature, and the mind itself is nature. Fabrication is nature. Everything is nature. All phenomena are natural. Our roles include working to earn money, taking time to rest on our days off, staying at home, going to the beach, or visiting relatives. These activities are all part of ordinary nature. They do not create happiness or suffering for anyone. Angulimala had already killed 999 people and was about to kill his mother and even the Buddha. However, when the Buddha came to teach him, he preached about the 5 aggregates and how everything is nature. Once Angulimala understood that everything is nature, he attained arahantship. The term arahantship refers to the mind's liberation from clinging and attachment to nature. It no longer holds on to the notions of self, ownership, right and wrong, good and evil, merit and demerit. The mind transcends these concepts because they are simply fabrications of nature. When one sees all of this as nature, the mind returns to its original purity. Thus, the mind attains arahantship. After attaining enlightenment and became a monk, he went on alms rounds, but he was met with hatred from people because he had killed many. They refused to offer him food. Is this natural? Absolutely. It reflects the consequences of his past actions. Not receiving food, he survived on water and rest, which is also natural. Later, when he went out again, he managed to get a little food, but he encountered the descendants of those he had killed, who threw stones and beat him. Is this natural? Indeed, it is very much a part of the natural order of things. This body can survive as long as it can. When it can't, it will decay and die. He saw everything as nature, with no sense of self or others. There is nothing but nature at play, with various conditions manifesting and fulfilling their roles. That's all there is. He understood that everything was nature. He saw no sense of self at all. There was no I, no you, nothing, only nature manifesting various conditions and performing its roles. There is no self left, only nature remains, which is one and the same with the Buddha. We already possess that nature within us. We just need to accept all these natural phenomena. It really is that simple. But if we still try to practice, there's still a sense of self wanting to focus and observe. Why focus? Why observe? To see that it's all nature? It's already nature. We only need to understand this. Those who continue to focus, scrutinize, and try to control their experiences, practicing this or that, are still bound to the cycle of birth and death. They resist nature, violate its principles, and refuse to understand or accept it. The Buddha taught to recognize and understand the true nature of things, to accept reality as it is. However, those who practice often try to force themselves not to accept nature, resisting it instead. This leads to becoming trapped in cycles of existence, facing the consequences of their actions, and continuing the cycle of birth and death without end. Those with wisdom understand and apply their insight. Wisdom is about understanding. When the mind sees the truth and accepts it, all doubts dissolve. Therefore, listen and understand. The Buddha spoke for understanding, and those who grasp this will attain enlightenment. Everything mentioned here represents the essence of the Dhamma, referred to as the 4 foundations of mindfulness, Satipatthana. It emphasizes understanding that everything is nature. Listen to this recording frequently. You don't need to overthink it. Use your natural instinct or common sense. Just listen and accept it as it is, without analyzing it too deeply. Is everything being discussed natural? If you understand and accept everything as nature, that's it. The mind will become empty, light, and spacious. It's truly remarkable. It's like the mind realizing it no longer suffers, no longer foolishly gets caught up in anything. This mind no longer arises, it simply knows and understands. There's no need to do anything else. All doubts in Buddhism are resolved. This is how it will be. We simply need to accept that the knower, or consciousness, is also nature. The conditioning, or what we call citta sankhara, is also nature. This conditioning involves thinking in positive or negative terms. It's all part of nature. It's natural for the mind to function this way, thinking this and that, positive or negative. Emotions, whether positive or negative, are also natural. This has been the case for a long time, 2,000 years ago and today, and it will continue to be so. It's the nature of the 5 aggregates that when we work, there will be interactions and conflicts. That's just how it is. It's like when we throw a stone into the water, there will naturally be ripples and disturbances. This is just how nature works. When we engage in life, there will be interactions and impacts, just as the stone creates waves in the water. These experiences are part of the natural flow of existence and cannot be avoided. The formation of waves in water is a natural phenomenon. Once the waves arise, they eventually dissipate. When a stone is dropped into the water, it creates new waves through that impact. Everything here is part of nature, isn't it? The mind is similar to water. It too is natural. The mind is like water, and it is natural. The mental formations are akin to waves. They are the natural expressions of the mind. Both the awareness, the knower, and the mental formations, thoughts, feelings, and emotions are part of nature. Simply put, we must recognize that everything is nature. There is no self, no others, no good or bad, and nothing that exists as a solid entity. When we understand that all of this is nature, we free ourselves from suffering. We transcend happiness and sorrow, merit and demerit, good and evil, and all forms of attachment. This state is called liberation, vimutti, a state beyond conventional existence. This is the essence of Buddhism and the pinnacle of Dhamma. It refers to the highest level of mindfulness practice, Dhammanupassana Satipatthana. By listening and understanding this, we can escape the cycle of birth and death in this life 100%. Anyone who listens to this teaching can achieve the highest realization instantly, here and now. So, listen repeatedly to grasp this profound truth. May everyone attain enlightenment swiftly and be liberated from the cycle of birth and death in this very moment. Understanding and accepting nature will lead us to a state of peace and freedom from suffering. Wishing everyone happiness and awakening in every moment. From this moment on, I shall diligently listen to this Dharma and remain aware within. I will perceive thoughts, emotions, and awareness as natural phenomena, not as self or mine. I will refrain from clinging to any phenomena. I will be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. This lifetime will be my final birth. When I have realized the Dharma, I will guide my children, grandchildren, and acquaintances to cultivate mindfulness within themselves, remaining free from attachment to thoughts and emotions. I will carry out this practice until the end of my life as an offering to the Buddha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.